Shalom. Our topic for tonight is Rav Shlomo Yosef Zevin on making a mikvah out of snow. This is actually one of a number of topics that he deals with in this, but I came to it through reading an article that he has about snow. I chose the article about snow because it's winter, but within there he talked about whether you can make a mikvah out of snow and what are the rules of making a mikvah out of snow. But then I noticed in the footnotes that he refers to an article that he wrote in a Torah journal called Torah Eretz Yisrael. This goes back to, again, it's the 9th year of that journal, but it goes back to the 1930s. And what was fascinating to me is that I am only, up until this article, I was only familiar with Rav Zevin's popular books, which are bestsellers, meaning Rav Zevin's books include Sipurei Chasidim, 3 volumes, which is extremely popular. His Ishim Veshitos, which is also extremely popular, where he outlines the different Shitos Alimud. We've spoken about this also, and I brought from it when we learned about the Or Sameach and the Rogachover. And he has a book, Hamoadim B'Halacha and Leora Halacha, which are also very popular books. However, and this I mentioned last time, that his straightforwardness and his simplicity and his clarity makes you forget his gaonos, makes you forget what an awesome Talmud Chacham he was. What was interesting to me was that when he referred to this article, it was a standard, like the kind of no holds barred article that an Acharon would write in a Torah journal. And so this was Rav Zevin not writing for a popular audience. Like a lot of his things were written for Hatzofeh, were written for the newspaper, as I guess a parnasa. And then afterwards, the Encyclopedia Talmudit was a unique kind of book, and God willing, I wanna quote from that in the future. But this was like a very like I said, no holds barred Achronish article, and that's what I want to focus on today. Now, so he referred to it in his footnotes. Okay. Here's what the article looks like. Now, I totally changed the order of presentation. Meaning, if we were to go through the article straight, so it starts with a quote from a number of different explanations Achronim have on a certain hanhaga that exists in the rules of Chalitza, and then his kashas on those Achronim, and then his kasha on the Mishnah Berurah, his kasha on a number of other things. And then finally his presentation, and then his rayas, and then how he answers all the kashas, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But I'm streamlining a little, and I would just want to, within the article, I want to present 4 of the problems that come up. Why is a mikveh kosher if it's made out of snow? So that we'll learn about, but why should a mikveh be kosher if it's made out of snow? The Mishnah says you can make a mikveh out of snow. However, and it's true, it's not simple to make a mikvah out of snow. There are a lot of practical difficulties because you have to make sure the snow doesn't melt, because then before it gets into the mikvah, because then it'll be mayim she'uvim, it'll be drawn water as opposed to snow. It's not simple, but if you can get over the practical problems, he's going to show you a difficulty that exists that is almost built in to the halachas of making a mikvah out of snow. Number two, how are our Havdalah candles usable for Havdalah? He's going to show you through the laws of Havdalah why it seems like a Havdalah candle shouldn't be good to use for Havdalah. Number two, now Chalitza, just a quick refresher, Chalitza is a halachic process that is done when there are two brothers, or two or more brothers. One brother is married, dies without children. The halacha is that instead of, and this is the way we do it nowadays, instead of doing yibum, where the surviving brother would marry some form of halachic marriage of the surviving wife, but instead he does chalitza, which is what the Torah outlines. He takes off his shoe, she spits in the shoe, and they say there's a certain things that are said by the different people, and that is a type of release of, that's the way to release from the yibum obligation. Now, there are halachas about the shoe, and one of the things we're going to see in the article is that specifically the chalitza shoe of the basting seems problematic. Just a minute, there's a comment. Yeah, we'll describe the problem with the Havdalah candles, the problem with the mikvah, the problem with the chalitza shoe, and also the problem of our sukkot. Another difficulty is going to come up with regards to our sukkot, that specifically the sukkahs that everybody makes, following all the requirements, there seems to be something missing in them. So these are not, I'm not telling you what the problem is. This is just sort of a teaser. So you're going to see his kasha about each one. Okay, mikvah. One of the most learned mishnayos is the one that's learned. There's a parak of mishnayos in mikvahs, which is learned at a shiva house often. This particular mishnah is not the one that's usually learned in the house, because there's 4 mishnayos that begin with the osios neshama. They begin with the letters nun, then shin, then mem, then hey. But this is the beginning of that chapter. It begins by listing things that can be added to a mikvah without invalidating the mikvah. And one of them is snow. In fact, there's a lot of cold water things here. Frozen or semi-frozen water. Hasheleg, which is snow. Barad is hail. Vakfor is frost. And Galid is some also kind of frost, if I'm not mistaken. Okay, then there's other things. Melech, Tita, Narok. But Rabbi Akiva. Hayu Rabbi Shmuel dan kenegdi lomar hasheleg enu malas mikvah. Rabbi Akiva said that Rabbi Shmuel argued with him, and he was making a case that snow cannot be added to a mikvah. However, v'heido anshe meidva mishmo, the people of a place called Meidva, they testified in the name of Rabbi Shmuel, shamar lahem, that he told them, tzu v'haviu shelet basu mikvah b'tchila. Go bring snow, and you can lechatchila make a mikvah. Now, those are so that's Rabbi Shmuel making a mikvah out of snow, and that's something that we do rule. Now, here's where the problem comes up with making a mikvah out of snow. There's a brisa. It says Tanan Hassam, but apparently the Tanan is inaccurate. He brings that the Girsa is the problem with the Girsa of the Gemara, but this is not a Mishnah. Sheleg eino lo ochel v'lo mashke. Snow is neither ochel, food, or mashke, liquid. But if you thought of eating it, let's say you wanted to make ice cream out of snow, it would not be metame tumas ochlim. Lamashke metame tumas ochlim. But if you thought about about snow as a mashka, then it would be metame tumas mashke. Now, what seems to be said here, without being able to get into the Tumah V'Tara part, but is that in order to consider snow water, you have to have specific thought that you're gonna use it lamashke. Now, you can use it for a liquid. Now, there are directions for making a mikvah out of snow that appear in the Shulchan Aruch, that appear in the Poskim, that appear in the Mishnah there, and we don't have any instructions. Now here, it's an argument from something that is not stated. So on the one hand, there's a little bit of a weakness in the argument, but in the weakness in the kasha. But why is there no mention that when you make a mikvah out of snow, you have to intend that the snow will be a mashka? There seems to be a mikvah has to be made out of water. Ach mayan ubor mikveh mayim yetahor. The Torah says that a mikveh has to be out of mayim, has to be out of water. So if the snow is not functioning as water because you didn't chishev alav lemashke, so it shouldn't be a kosher mikvah. By the way, if you look in the Shulchan Aruch, when it talks about making a mikvah out of snow, we always, of course, think of making a mikvah out of snow, and then when it melts, you toivel in it. But the Shulchan Aruch brings an opinion. Again, the Shulchan Aruch brings a second opinion also, but it brings an opinion there that you can toivel in the snow itself. Now again, it's probably not an easy experience, but if you can imagine somebody that's especially tough going into the snow and like submerging himself in the snow, if you can work that out, you got to make sure you have the right quantity, etc. But it's still, a mikveh has to be mayim. And so while it's snow, it would have to be considered mayim. How are you going to consider it mayim? By chishev alav lamashke. Why do we find no instructions like that in the rules of making a mikveh? Question number one on the table. We'll discuss this. We'll come back to this later on. We'll come back with an answer, God willing, after he gives us his approach to things. Now, again, theoretically, on the side, it's interesting. It talks about it being a mashke. He's making one little jump, and that is that if you chishev alav lachila, it's not considered water. Chishev alav lamashke, then it is considered water. That's the one jump that he's making. Okay. Difficulty number two, Havdalah candles. So the first question is, why are our mikvahs good mikvahs when they're made out of snow? People aren't specifically thinking that this snow is going to be used for a mashke. That seems to be an understood requirement, but it's not mentioned. Okay. Number two, there's a restriction in Havdalah candles that a Havdalah candle has to be leha'ir. The Havdalah candle, the candle that we use for Havdalah, the light that we use for Havdalah, it has to be illuminating light. What would be light that's not illuminating light? So let's say candles that are used for the dead. Chvod HaMes. So that's not used for illumination. Ner Beis HaKnesses. Candle of a shul very likely might just be for the honor of a shul. So look at what the Shulchan Aruch says. Ner Beis HaKnesses. Im yesham adam chashuv mevarchin alav. If there's a chashuv, a person in the shul, so then the candle is there for illumination. But if it's barim lav, ein mevarchin alav, because it's just lekavod beit knesset. Yeshomim behefech. There are those who say the opposite. Okay, you can say maybe if it's just for an adam chashuv, it's for the chashivas of the person. Otherwise, it's to give light in the shul. Okay, but no matter what, the issue is there should be the candle that is used for Havdalah, the light that is used for Havdalah should be illuminating light. Let's say there's a shamus who's in the shul and he eats there. So that candle could be used. Why? Because it's for illuminating, so that he has light when he's eating. That's only if the moon is not shining into the shul, where you wouldn't really need the light of the candle. Okay, and then over here it says it explicitly. It's not made for illuminating. Okay, so there's a requirement that Havdalah candle be an illuminating light. What about our Havdalah candles? So he asks, Kach nemar gam kein b'ner Havdalah. Im kein eich matzanu yadeinu v'ragleinu v'chol neros shel Havdalah dedan hasuim b'yichud l'shem Havdalah. Our candles aren't made for illumination. We have electric lights for illumination. But our Havdalah candles are just made for Havdalah. That's what our Havdalah candles are made for. They're not candles that are made for illumination. They're candles that are only made for the mitzvah of doing Havdalah. And sure enough, you go to a store and you buy a Havdalah candle. You're not buying a candle for illuminating. You're buying a candle to fulfill the mitzvah of Havdalah. And even though it's made for this mitzvah of Havdalah, it's not made lahayr. Meaning the way of doing Havdalah in the Gemara seemed to be, go to a candle that is used for illumination and do your bracha of Borei Morei Ha'esh on that candle. But that there should be some special candle just for the mitzvah Havdalah. Once again, what do we gain? Now we have a candle that's only for the mitzvah Havdalah, not for illumination. So, once again, how is it that specifically our Havdalah candles should be problematic? Because they're not made for illumination, they're made for the mitzvah. Now, the Chalitza shoe. There's a lot of discussion in this article about the Chalitza shoe, because the article opens up with an expert. Just to give you some context, the article opens up with a selection from the rules of the procedure of Chalitza. So in Even Ezer Kuf Samach Tes, after there's the whole siman begins, has a middle, has an end. Afterwards, within Kuf Samach Tes, there's a long description, point by point, of the way to do Chalitza. And one of the rules of how to do the procedure of Chalitza is rule Mem Dalet. Tzarich sheyelech hayavam b'minal baraglo dalet amos. V'yelech lifnei adayanim sheyiru ezer regel yamina. So he should walk with the Chalitza shoe 4 amos, and he should walk in front of the dayanim, so they should see which is his right hand, right foot. Meaning, okay, which is which is his strong foot, etc. Okay, so there's a number of different minhagim, different reasons given for this minhag. For instance, they should see that it fits him. Others I saw brought in the Nosei Kelim. There is an approach brought that the reason for walking with the Chalitza shoe is that the Chalitza shoe should not just be a Chalitza shoe for the sake of the mitzvah, but it should be a walking shoe. Where does this come from? Well, the Gemara says that discusses a number of invalid Chalitza shoe. So it says, V'shel iranidachas v'shel zaken hasui lichvodo. The Chalitza shoe of an iranidachas, that's a city who members of the city entice the rest of the city to worship Avodah Zarah. Okay. Vishel zaken asulich, but this is the one we're interested in, and a zaken that was made for his honor. Now here this is zaken is for an elderly person who is preparing for after death, and apparently he made shoes for, this is the way I understood from the commenters. I think it was, I don't remember if it was Rashi or elsewhere, but that the shoe made was not for while he's alive. I was surprised by that, but so lo tachlotz, that kind of a shoe should not be used for chalitza. Vim chalza chalitza sapsula, and if he did do chalitza with that shoe, it would be invalid. Amalei Ravina l'Rabashi, Ma'ishna zaken asui lichvodo delav lehilucha avid. What's the reason why you're singling out a zaken asui lichvodo? Because it's not made for walking. Deveitina nami lav lehilucha avid. Wait a second. The chalitza shoe of the Beis Din was also not made for walking. If the shaliach Beis Din, one of the assistants there, the people that was acting on behalf of the Beis Din, if he wanted to use the shoe, would the dayan be makbid alav? In other words, it is a shoe made for walking. You see from here, one of the requirements of a shoe for chalitza is that it be made for walking. And you see that the Gemara has a difficulty with a chalitza shoe being valid. The chalitza shoe that they do chalitza with. Aren't our Beit Din chalitza shoes not used for walking? Now that's a question that the Gemara seems to deal with. And the answer seems to be, yes, it is used for walking. Okay, and that seems to be one of the suggestions for that procedure of having the Yavam walk for 4 amas, besides the things that are mentioned in the Nosei Kelim and the Shulchan Aruch. So one of the things, these other achronim that the Rav Zevin quotes, they are the Tosefes Bikurim, the Zecher Yosef, and the Chesed Laver. Okay. Difficulty number 4, and that is our sukkot should also be all invalid. Okay, so the Beis Din's Chalitza shoe, all of our mikvahs made from snow, all our Havdalah candles, and now all of our sukkahs should also be invalid. Why? Tana Rabbanan, there's a brisa that says as follows: Ganvach, these 4 kinds of sukkot, which are abbreviated Ganvach: Sukkahs Goyim, Sukkahs Nashim, Sukkahs Behema, Sukkahs Kusim, Sukkah Mikol Makom Kshera. Now, this seems to be an expansive brisa that is saying that all types of sukkahs are okay. As long as it's misucheches ke'ilchasa, as long as it's got kosher schach. Says the Gemara, this doesn't mean that it follows the rules of schach. That's another thing. My ke'ilchasa, what does this brisa mean when it says ke'ilchasa? That it should be the schach should be made according to the halacha. Rav Chisda, v'husha asa'a letzil sukkah. And it should be made for the shadow of the sukkah, the shade, excuse me, of the sukkah. Sorry. And then the Gemara goes on, mikol makom, no matter what. What does that mean? Lasui emai, lasui sukkahs ravkash. That's a different group of sukkahs. There's another brisa that starts with that second group of sukkahs, and it says as follows: Tana Rabbanan, sukkahs ravkash, sukkahs rowing, sukkahs kaitzim, sukkahs burgening, sukkahs shomrei peros. These are all types of sukkahs that are out there in the fields. The sukkah of the shepherds is the rowing. The kaitzim are the people that are drying fruit out in the fields. Sukkahs burgening, I think they are. I hope I didn't get this wrong. Trappers. I hope I didn't get this wrong. And Shomrei Peros, people that are watching Peros. Sukkah mikol mokom, and a sukkah, no matter what, is ksher. Ubevad shadei mesuchachas kilchasa. Once again, my kilchasa. What does it mean that the schach should be made according to the halacha? Answer, Amrav Chisda v'husha asa'al l'tzeil sukkah. You made it for tzeil sukkah. Mikol makom lasuyim. What are the words? Sukkah mikol makom, no matter what. Lasuyi sukkah's ganbach. Actually, that second brisa, mikol makom, alludes to the other four sukkahs. Whatever the case, these sukkahs are, there's a requirement of these sukkahs that a sukkah that it should be made l'tzeil sukkah. It seems to be that this is a requirement in general for sukkahs. So wait a second. Does anyone nowadays intend that their sukkah should be for shade? We're making a sukkah for shade. People make sukkah for the mitzvah of sukkahs. You got to live in a sukkah, but that it should be. We make sure that the schach is Silsa Meruba Michamasa, that the shade is more than the sun, but that we have the kavana that it should be l'shem tzeil. So it seems that we have a rule in each of these areas that specifically that which we do with the mitzvah is not following the rule. Our sukkahs are not made l'shem tzeil. Our Havdalah candles are not lahoyer, they're lemitzvah. Our Chalitza shoes are not lehalicha, they're just for the mitzvah. And the, what I forget, Havdalah candle, and our mikvahs are not thought of to be l'shem mashke. So Rav Zevin has a principle. Now, how are we going to answer this out? He says the following. And it seems to me to explain it as follows. Shekol mitzvah, every mitzvah, shein yotzim ba'alim kein adavar yeh noad le'ezeh metzias, you don't fulfill unless the thing is geared towards a certain reality or certain situation. Even though the person's intent was only for the mitzvah, he didn't intend for that reality, like shade, mashke, laha'ir, lahalicha. Because he had intent, because he intended for the mitzvah, so and that's its mitzvah. So it's as if he explicitly intended for that mitzias. So when you let's plug it in. Oh, sorry. This is one of his proofs. Okay, just to plug in one of them right away. He's making a sukkah l'shem mitzvah sukkah. One of the requirements of the intention of the sukkah maker is that it should be l'shem tzeil. Well, if he's intending for the mitzvah of sukkah, that includes the intent that it should be l'shem tzeil. Meaning, that's enough for it to be considered l'shem tzeil, that you did it for the shem mitzvah, and the mitzvah includes that it be l'tzeil sukkah. Here's an example which the Rashash says. The Rashash, it sounds like he's drawing on the Rashash. Rashash was the Rav of Vilna, of Shmuel Strasson, I think Shmuel, maybe Shlomo. Sorry. So he says like this: Areza domala mavor b'shulchan aruch yerodea, v'hu Yerushalmi orla, de'af kishe notea l'siyag u'lekoros, shelo l'shem achila, pater miorla. Now, the rules are as follows: that if somebody plants a tree to be a fence, or he plants a tree for the sake of making planks of wood, and it is a fruit tree, and he didn't do it l'shem achila, he didn't do it for the sake of eating, it's pater from orla. Mikol makom hanotea esrog l'tzorach mitzvah chayav ba'orla. If somebody plants an esrog for the sake of the mitzvah, and in parentheses, and he didn't explicitly intend that it should be l'shem achila. He's doing it for the mitzvah. And like many people, there are a few people that eat their etrogim. My mother-in-law, she should live me well, makes etrog jam. And there are people that make etrog liqueur. I'm sure there's somebody out there who just, cuts open his etrog and has a piece. They're sugared etrogim. So true, there are people who eat etrogim, but let's say somebody who never intends to eat his etrog. And the person who planted the etrog wasn't planting it for consumption. He was planting it for mitzvah activities. That's where the money is in etrogim. So, hanotea etrog l'tzorach mitzvah, chayav orla. The dinim of orla apply. V'atam, k'mashakosav b'chidushi harashash, l'mishnah orla, dechevan de mitzvahs etrog eino yotze elim kein roi la'achila, have kiniskaven la'achila, ayin sham. When you're intending to plant, when you plant this etrog for the sake of the mitzvah, included in that intention is intent that it should be la'achila. That's his principle. When there's a certain requirement that a mitzvah has, so that the intent, when there's a certain intent requirement within a mitzvah, and a person doesn't specifically have that intent in mind, but he does have the intent of the mitzvah itself, that includes within it the intent for that particular intent that the mitzvah requires. Just a moment. Okay, so that explains why the etrogim are kosher. That principle that seems to be stated by the Rashash. So Rav Zevin wants to apply it to the Sukkah, for instance. We've never heard anybody, we've never seen anybody specifically have intent for shade as they're making their sukkah. You're doing it, I'm making the sukkah for the sake of the mitzvah of sukkah. Most of the people, the masses, don't know that there's some requirement. They don't know that sukkah's ganva, sukkah's ravkash. This is what we said. The dafka beganvach v'ravkash. Only in those particular 8 sukkahs, she'ena mosim lemitzvah. Those are examples of sukkahs which are not made for mitzvah sukkah. That's the sukkah that somebody who's out there watching the field made, or that's a Gentile made, or whatever. Those sukkahs weren't made for mitzvah sukkah, but they at least have to be made for shade. And so if you see, they made it with the roof is for shade, gewaltig, so that's kosher. Aval kishenasa the mitzvah, but when the sukkah was made for the mitzvah itself, have a memela kilu niskaven l'tzeil came in shazoi mitzvah, so automatically it's also made for tzeil because that's the mitzvah sukkah. Mikvah is the same thing. Hare lo izkiru klal shetzorach she'achshav al hashalik she'amikveh sheba mikveh she'yu l'mashkin. They never mentioned that you're supposed to think that the snow in the mikveh should be for mashkin. Ela hu hadavar she'amarnu shekevan she the hechsher mitzvah enu ela b'mayim. A mitzvah is only kosher if it's made from water. Varehu niskaven l'shem mikvah. His intent is for a mikvah. It's as if he explicitly had a kavanah that it should be for water. Havdalah candle is the same thing. And we're on the line here. And now it's clear why it is that the Havdalah candle Kevan de nase v'hudlach l'shem mitzvahs habracha shaba Havdalah. When you light the candle, you're doing it for the mitzvah of Havdalah and Motzei Shabbos. Ve'amitzvah hi rak be'ofen sheyeheh asui lahayir. And the requirement of the mitzvah is that it should be made to illuminate. Harei said kiniskaven lahedya lahayir bekosher. So it's as if he intended to illuminate with the candle because he intended to light the candle for the mitzvah of the candle on Motzei Shabbos. And the mitzvah of the candle on Motzei Shabbos includes that it should be for illumination. So when he has kavanah for the mitzvah, that kavanah includes that it should be for illumination. That's again in line with this Rishash idea about etrogim, that when you plant something for the mitzvah of etrog, it is automatically planted la'achila. Now, the Chalitza problem, the Chalitza shoe, seems to be problematic. Why? What do we see? If somebody makes a Chalitza shoe for the sake of the mitzvah of Chalitza, and one of the requirements of the mitzvah of Chalitza is that it should be for walking, so what was the Gemara's problem? You look at that Gemara, it seems to be exactly against Reb Zevin's principle. Here, let's see, he asked the question himself. Well, it should be by the Chalitza shoe when it is specifically made for the sake of the mitzvah. Kosher, it should be kosher. Because one of the intents of one of the characteristics of the Chalitza shoe is that it should be for walking, as opposed to, let's say, somebody who made it for some aspect of shrouds or what have you. So based on this whole principle, just intending for the mitzvah of Chalitza should be enough. The Gemara that in Yevamos that we quoted a long time ago should be difficult, because what does it say? So the Gemara says, why is the zaken that made a shoe lichvodo, that's not for walking? That's a problem. The Beis Din's shoe is also not for walking. Now wait a second. According to what we said, though, the Beis Din shoe was made for the mitzvah, so it should be automatically considered for walking. And the chiluk between the two, the distinction, is very blatant. So he said, no. That Gemara actually works very well with this case. Why? Because what does that Gemara claim? The Gemara claims that the Beis Din's shoe was specifically made not for walking. That's what it sounds like in the Gemara. It sounds like they dafka didn't use the Chalitza shoe. And what was the answer? If the Shaliach Beis Din were to use it, the Dayan wouldn't mind. He doesn't say, oh yeah, they walk around with it. The people hang around the Beis Din walk around. It says, if he would use it, he wouldn't mind. So let's read inside. He speaks it out. True. Something that's made for Chalitza should be considered that it is made for walking, like we said above. That's as long as you didn't specifically intend that it should be not for walking. That's what we call in halacha kavana havchis. I think that's the expression we use. That's the opposite kavana, negative kavana. if you are makbid not to walk in it, you can't say that it's made for walking if you specifically don't walk in it. He is particular, the opposite, not to walk in it. That's the question of the Gemara. That was the difficulty of the Gemara. It's specifically made not for walking. They only use it for chalitzos, and they hide it. That people shouldn't walk around with it. People don't walk around with chalitza shoes. It's sitting in the beis din, and they use it just for a chalitza. So you can't say it's made for walking. Because they're very particular that you shouldn't walk in it. The Heshiva Tartzan and the Tartzan and the Gemara answered up. The Ilumaski Beishlucha the Beidina may cup it alay dayan. If the Shliach beis din would walk around with it, so the dayan wouldn't be makbid. Ubavada ein chisron akpeda bilvad yachol lasot ayidei zeh asana la'avid lelucha. It's not the lack of kapeda makes it made for walking. Since he's not particular about it, then we can revert back to the fact that it was initially made for the mitzvah of chalitza. The one last thing, the Rav Zevin has a Machloket with the Netziv about Kria. Kria of tearing a garment. The Netziv has a tshuva, and he says that when lo aleinu somebody's in avelis, he doesn't have to tear his talis katan. Why? You only wear it for the mitzvah of tzitzis, so it's not a beged. According to Rav Zevin, Rav Zevin asked a powerful kasha, which I'm not sure how the Netziv would get away with, would get out of this. If it's not a beged, then it's not chayim and tzitzis, because the mitzvah of tzitzis requires al kanfei bigdeim. And the halacha is that zakin shasa'al ichvodo petur mitzitzis, clothing that is only made for not for wearing, but for the same parallel, but by tzitzis that we talked about before, that's patur from tzitzis. Like it says in Menachos Mem Aleph. Have a look at Tosfos Nida. Im kein kishalovis talis katan l'shem mitzvah tzitzis harei zeh keniskaven l'shem beged. He says the opposite. No, it's when you make your tzitzis, your talis katan, even though you make it just for the mitzvah, but because one of the requirements of the talis is that it be a beged, the kavanah, making it for the kavanah of the mitzvah of tzitzis, itself includes within it making it for the sake of a beged. Okay, that's his presentation. Again, the principle is intention to fulfill the mitzvah includes the sub-intentions that are the requirements of the particular mitzvah. To go back to our original four cases, why is a mikveh kosher made out of snow? Because people intend to make a mikveh out of the snow, and that intent includes within it l'shem mashka, that it should be for the sake of liquid. How are our Havdalah candles usable for Havdalah if they're specifically made for the mitzvah, not for illumination? The answer is lighting it for the sake of the mitzvah includes within it that it's for illumination. Why is the Beit Din's Chalitza shoe kosher for Chalitza? Because it was made specifically for the mitzvah of Chalitza. And even though the Beit Din seemingly dafka doesn't use it for walking, but because the Beit Din wouldn't be makbid if somebody did walk in it, the original intention when they made it for the sake of the mitzvah, that it is also for the sake of walking, that includes doing it for the sake of walking, that is regenerate. And last but not least, why are our Sukkot kosher, even though we don't specifically have kavanah that it should be l'tzeil? Because the kavanah to make it for the mitzvah includes that it should be for l'tzeil. When you want to use a sukkah that was made for people hanging out in the fields watching their drying fruit, so then it had it wasn't made for the mitzvah. That doesn't passel the sukkah, but at least had to be made for the sake of sale. Okay, God willing, next time I would like to also discuss Rav Zevin's biography. Bli neder, I got to check out the schedule, but I wanted to do something on Hanukkah, and that's what I wanted to share with you today.